What's up, guys? Matt Brown from the LSR Podcast. Thanks for joining me and Dustin and Adam right here on the channel each and every week. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments if there's anything you'd like us to tackle in a future episode. But without further ado, Dustin, there is something that maybe a lot of people who are kind of new to the sports betting industry that don't really know exists out there. If you've been embedded in this a long time, you understand that there is a federal excise tax that goes on and is associated with sports betting and has just kind of been there for the longest time, kind of sitting, doesn't generate a ton of money. But when you're operating on such an incredibly small margin as sportsbooks are anyway, it actually can be significant. And it seems like there is at least another effort here. There's been a little bit in the past. It looks like there's at least another effort to say, guys, what are we really doing here? This is kind of unnecessary. Why don't we get rid of it?
Yeah, we have a bipartisan bill in Congress to get rid of the federal sports betting excise tax. That is a law or a tax that takes 0.25% of all wagers across the country. It doesn't include every single wager, but for commercial operators, Nevada have paid this for a while. This is often impacting pretty much everybody who's opening up in states around the country. So, that's a lot of money that is not going, just going to the federal government, and we don't really have a great idea of where it's going. It's tens of millions of dollars, certainly, as billions are wagered in the United States. And we have a couple of Congress people who have introduced a bill to end that, just to get rid of the tax, which would certainly make a lot of sense. It was originally meant to, we think, to combat illegal gambling. It's certainly not doing that. So this is just another tax on the nascent legal sports betting market as it get going here. And it would certainly be smart to put it away. Now, is this going to happen? Who knows? It's certainly a start of an effort, and we certainly hope and support that it does. And we'll see where it goes from here. But it does at least have both Democratic and Republican support.
And Adam, the reason that we talk about this and bring this up is because even though it's not an incredibly large amount of money to the government, to these books, and what we've kind of preached here on this podcast for the last couple of years now is, hey, look, education is going to be so incredibly big. Really doing marketing and a PR push about, hey, come to the legal side here. This is where you should be betting. And the reason and filling people in on all that, having a little bit of extra money in the chamber for these sports books to be able to do this type of stuff and to be able to do these things could actually really help. And again, they are operating on such an incredibly slim margin as it is anyway.
Matt, what it ultimately does is removes a barrier to entry if you're not one of the huge operators that has been either internationally active or one of the big DFS companies that has turned into a sports betting company. Any sort of break that you can get from that regulatory regime is going to be beneficial to you when it comes to revenue. So, if you're trying to break in and you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, then yes, getting rid of that 0.25% on handle is enormous. The other thing is there's a piece of precedent that comes along with that if you go back to the integrity fee debate of the last couple of years, realize that the idea of taking 1% of handle has some origins in that 0.25% of handle. That was the only tax that existed in the nation outside of the tax in Nevada, which we know has operated for a long time on gross gaming revenue at 6.75%. So it has a bad connotation that goes back a little bit as well. As you mentioned, it is an industry that operates on thin margins. It is an industry that operates on volume. If you look at Nevada's historical hold going back decades, you see that sportsbooks hold 5.4% of bets. 5% is not a lot of profit when you're trying to build a business, especially if you're trying to build a standalone business on sports betting. If you're not one of the legacy casino operators, if you're not a DFS company that is also adding casino, you need every penny you can get to compete in a market where the big boys have billions of dollars to play with, and you have companies like Rush Street that are going public for the purpose of raising more cash to compete.
Guys, as a reminder, the full version of this podcast can be found over at LegalSportsReport.com, as can the written breakdown of every topic we talk about on the show each and every week. Thanks for watching.